Are you someone looking to reduce your money stress, build more cushion, and increase your financial efficiency? Well, keep listening to hear some ideas on how you can do just that. Hello, and welcome to the Wealth Minded MD podcast with your money best friends. I'm Dr. Brittany Helford.
And I'm Dr. Alicia Taylor.
And of course, we're here to help you build wealth and make good money decisions so you can create the life you desire with more control over your time.
Need a financial advisor you can trust who can also serve as your tax planner and help you with student loans? Well, we've got just the right person. Ben and his team at Bonafide Finance are the people for you. They do a complete financial advising for you for a flat fee, which includes a comprehensive 4-part assessment to learn even more about you, your goals, and your financial status.
Then they help you make changes and put systems in place to grow your net worth and achieve financial security. Along with financial advising, Ben and his team also help with student loans and will file your individual tax returns for you so you don't need to hire other folks as well. Ben and his team can handle it all for you.
That's right. Contact Ben today at bonafidefinance.com/wealthmindedmd, or you can email their team at hello@bonafidefinance.com. Don't forget to tell them we sent you, and please consider supporting those who support us. All right, Brittany, what is going on over there for you in Boston around this time of the year?
Leisha, I have been just dancing my way down the aisles of our church in the vestibule. And although this might sound like, Brittany, what? Why are you sharing this? It's bringing me just so much joy because for many years, I could not create capacity, or I felt like, oh, I shouldn't join because I can't be consistent with it because of my schedule, because of children, because of all of these other things that now I know were excuses, and that the community would have just accepted me and seen my commitment based on how I am communicating with them and how I am showing up. And I'm just so grateful for the dance ministry at my church because there are times where I can't show up because I have to work. And then it has also shown me that this is something that brings significant value to my life. How can I prioritize it? So for our Christmas celebration, I actually was able to dance because I emailed out and I switched out of a shift. So I rearranged my work schedule to accomplish this goal that I had never before. Like after dancing for the past 2 years, I would say, I have missed both of those Christmas celebrations because I've always worked. And so this time I said, you know what? I'm going to make it. I'm just going to change my work schedule. And so I'm really excited that I was able to do that because it has just filled me with so much joy this year.
Oh, that's great. That's great. We're recording this, I know, in 2025, but I'm excited for you to continue doing this new year in 2026. And one of the things that really stuck out to me about what you just said was it was important to you. You recognized it and you actually put in the effort that was required to make it happen, which in your case was switching a shift. And I think sometimes we can give up too easily. We have one obstacle in our way and we're like, oh my gosh, it's not meant to do that. And you've kind of really just inspired me from the story of saying, you know what, I can't let just one obstacle prevent me from doing something that is really going to bring me a lot of happiness. And what are the other areas in my life in which I have been doing that? Where I've said, there's this one obstacle, I'm not going to do it, instead of saying, how can I overcome the obstacle? For me, sometimes that's in terms of working out. It's like, oh, it's raining. Oh, it's cold outside. I'm not going to run. It's like, okay, well, you could run on the treadmill. Or it's like, I have so many things to do after work today. I'm not going to work out. And it's like, okay, well, you could wake up a little earlier to work out in the morning. Or for me specifically, like I have a gym at my job. So it's like, girl, bring some clothes, bring something to shower. And if it's really important to you, maybe you could work out during lunch. Again, it's like, what are other areas of my life where I've been presented with a small obstacle? And instead of giving up, I'm going to challenge myself this year to really think about ways I could overcome that and being a little bit more creative and more resilient in other areas of my life.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate that you're calling that out because we kind of give up on ourselves and we are our worst enemies. And so not only the physical challenges that you've already identified that are limiting, but what about the mindset blocks? And for me, I think that was the greatest impediment that prevented me from dancing all these years. We've been in Boston for 7 years. And I praise dance as a child in church and kind of through my youth. And it was that, oh, well, if I can't show up at every practice, then they're going to be upset or I'm going to be inconsistent. So it's better to not just do it at all, or I don't want to let them down. Will they accommodate my schedule? And so it was like all of these things that I thought were preventing me from doing a thing. And now all of those things are still present. Like I don't always show up. I can't make the Wednesday practices sometimes, but still they have allowed me and graciously accepted me. And they see that, yes, I'm bringing my kids. KJ is jumping from pew to pew while I'm dancing sometimes. They're not like, okay, Brittany and her bad kids. They're like, yes, come on, Sister Brittany, and bring your bad kids and we're going to love on them too. I just want to say I appreciate that you called out a lot of the physical limitations and logistical limitations. And in addition to those, there are kind of these mindset limitations that also prevent us from doing the things that we need to do and doing the things that we want to do. So as we enter into this new year, I know this is released kind of like in the beginning of January. Alicia and I are just encouraging you to try to figure out a way to make it work and push past that initial resistance. Because I'm sure, Alicia, like once you put your workout clothes on, like after the 5 minutes, you're like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
keep running or what have you. It's that initial resistance. And I think once you can push past that initial resistance, then it makes it all worthwhile.
I agree. I agree.
All right. So, as we are talking about goals and pushing past resistance, Leisha, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here to say, as we're recording this in 2025 at the end of the year, I still have not developed my list of 2026 financial goals. I got a running mental list. And I'm like, okay, Brittany, what's going on here, Brittany? Is there nothing else that you want to achieve in the new year? And Leisha, everybody's on their own journey, right? So this is just for me. But previously, the goals have been like, okay, now let's max out a 401k. Now let's max out a backdoor Roth IRA. Okay. Let's maybe consider investing and utilizing a 457B. Okay. We do that. We've maxed out all of those things. What else is there? And as I'm reflecting on this, I think maybe some high income earners might also be there and they're thinking like, okay, well, I have the money to do all of these investments and I'm doing all of these things. And maybe most high income earners don't actually need more money. And what they truly crave, like me, is autonomy. When I'm reflecting on 2025, a part of the year was kind of hard, like me pushing through and not having enough space to do all the things that we wanted to do. And maybe it was just like my own limitations. So that's something that I need to work on, like the mindset blocks, right? But as we're talking to some people, they might say, oh, I want to feel more secure, or I want to have more breathing room, or I just don't want to feel like I'm behind. But what they're really saying is that they're craving more margin. And I think for me, that's what I need. I need more margin. And so when I think about what margin means, it's the space between my life and the limits. And what are the things that are making me feel overextended, that I need more time margin, making me feel like, okay, I don't have enough. Even though I know I have enough money, there are still some times when I feel like I don't have enough. So how can I create more money margin? And then emotional margin. Like I said, I was at it feeling like I was on a hamster wheel or more stressed than I wanted to be because of these obligations. So in this episode, I kind of want to talk about some of the thoughts that I'm exploring in order to create financial goals that align with creating more financial autonomy and building up margin in my life.
Ooh, I like this. More margin, more space, more of a gap between what I need and what I have in terms of time, right? So, at least for me, how I'm interpreting this is I feel like I don't have enough and I need more. So, how can I create a little bit more space in my day where I don't feel so rushed? And money margin, I think there are times I feel that way too. And I wonder, am I oversaving? Other months, I wonder, am I overspending? Why don't I feel like I have more of a cushion? And so really just evaluating those different amounts, emotional margin. I love what you said there about feeling stress and what are some ways that I can reduce stress? What are some different techniques I need to employ? Or what are some things that I need to give up or delegate to others? And so I love this. I'm excited to kind of explore this with you. Help us understand, where do we go next now that we're kind of on this journey with you?
Yeah, thank you. I just appreciate you exploring that, thinking about the aspects of margin. I would just ask our listeners to explore that too. Like, which one do you currently feel is most salient for you? And as I was thinking about this, the first step was for me trying to identify those pressure points in 2025, because not all 2025 felt stressful or that I didn't have enough of money or time or whatever. It was kind of like this ramp up period towards the end of the year that I felt kind of this high stress that I needed more margin. And so when I'm thinking about that, it's like, what caused financial stress? That's kind of this broad, overarching question. But for some people, it could be that I actually didn't have enough time to do all the financial things that I wanted to do. I didn't have enough time to set up the systems, maybe to help me to do the things that I wanted to do. I didn't have time to implement the financial plan. And honestly, like we all have time, but it's allowing kind of these competing priorities to prioritize themselves and not really giving us the space to do the things that we want to do. So that is one financial pressure point that I identified. And then another thought to explore is where could automation or other professionals have helped me to alleviate that stress? Once you identify some of those pressure points, how can you also pinpoint some various and explore some of those potential solutions? As I mentioned, there's a prioritization that needs to take place. So just asking how painful was each of those pressure points that you identify?
I love this. And as you were talking about, maybe I don't feel like I have enough time, or I feel like I'm a little too stressed, or I feel like I don't have enough money. One of the things that you just mentioned about where could automation come in? I think sometimes, at least for me, it can be challenging to try new tools that you haven't used before because you may not feel comfortable using them. And it's like, okay, well, no one feels super comfortable using something for the first time. But I think learning how to optimize these different tools at our disposal could make things a lot better for us. I'm thinking about in the medical setting. I don't know if y'all have this at your hospital system, but it's this new thing called DAX. It's like AI in the patient room, but it will essentially listen to your conversation and write your note for you.
Mhm.
Right. And so it may not be perfect, but it's pretty good. And it'll at least jog your memory and help you with the history and remind you of what you said with what was the assessment and plan, and how like getting used to using that could really help you become more efficient and save you time and help you create more time margin. And so I'm thinking about automation. I'm also thinking about, aside from seeing patients, I also develop curriculums and do lesson plans. And it's like, okay, well, what are some ways that I could use AI to do that? And maybe it is using ChatGPT and to at least create an outline for me. Maybe, instead of typing things out, I could talk things out because I could talk faster than I can type, even if I can type pretty fast. And so it's like maybe using those sorts of things. And again, employing other tools. It doesn't always have to be paying somebody else to do it. Maybe it's about me being more efficient and challenging myself to learn new tools and adopt new systems that could help me create that margin. So I love what you said there. I think that's great.
Yeah. And thank you, Leisha. As you're talking about this new AI tool, I think for us as healthcare professionals, at least for me, what drains me a lot is documentation. And not only documentation from me having to document, but then when I forget to document sepsis and explain which two of the four things they have, I'm a hospitalist, people. So there are a lot of people who come in with sepsis, right? And then I get that query from the coding person. Have I just used a tool to help me so that the billing codes are there? But it requires an upfront investment. And so sometimes it's like pushing past that initial discomfort in order to get to a space where automation and systems can help us to perpetually kind of relieve ourselves of that pressure. And then when you are no longer time pressured or emotionally stressed because you're bringing home your notes late, what does that allow you to do in your finances? Maybe you have now time to start a side gig, or maybe you have time to spend, and learn a little bit more. We had our money challenge episode about reading a book and continuing your financial education. So now maybe you have capacity to do that. And so, Alicia, I really appreciate that because there is a tool that has been introduced to us in our system. It's not the same one that you highlighted, but I kind of like kept it in the back of my mind, but haven't used it yet. And so now I think that this is a process where I should explore because it will definitely save me more time throughout throughout the day. And the other thing that I just want to highlight here is mindset. We talk about the scarcity mindset and abundance mindset a lot in the financial space. I don't think that I have a scarcity mindset, but I think that there have been times in 2025 where scarcity has crept in. And so, therefore, as you said, like there's a gap where I feel like there's not enough. And so, therefore, there are scarce resources, there's scarce amount of time, there's scarce amount of energy. And what are some of those things that have made me feel like, oh, I need to hold this a little bit closer? So, one of the things that this is bringing up for me is I am part of the financial stewardship ministry in addition to the dance ministry at my church. And we had a meeting and I was like, okay, I love this idea. Like we should do boom, 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 and boom. But I myself, I don't have time to do that. Like I don't have the capacity to do that. And so there is some time scarcity there. And how did that make me feel? Like not saying that I don't have sufficient time and what else could I do in order to alleviate that pressure? So that's just another way to explore some of these pressure points is where have you not done something because you felt like there was not enough to accomplish that goal, like something that you wanted to do.
Okay. I mean, this is all things to keep in mind. Give me another example of how you plan to implement that this year in terms of how you think it's going to help you. As I think it would help me like kind of visualize it a little bit more.
Yeah. So the next thing that I'm going to explore after I explore these pain pressures is explore my systems. And you kind of highlighted this with using AI tools or using other types of systems. So I have systems. Everybody has systems. People are always like, oh, why I don't have a financial system. You got something that you're doing. That is your system. You may not call it and label it that, but that is your system. So we all have these systems of operations in our lives. Like we are creatures of habit. And so I'm evaluating what systems do I currently have and what systems do I need to simplify in order to reduce some of the future stress. So I'll give you an example. And we talked about this during my money mistakes about how we had to pay a penalty for not paying all of our taxes. And you astutely called me out and you're like, well, Brittany, it sounds like there's a need for some additional bookkeeping, right? And so I have developed this system of infrequently updating the books in our businesses. And what I'm realizing is that that is a financial pain point for me that now we've been charged a penalty. We had to pay extra because we don't have things in order come April to really estimate our taxes on. And so in 2026, I'm actually investing in somebody doing the bookkeeping because I see that not only is it draining our coins because we had to pay a penalty and for unpaid taxes this year, but it also is a significant stress for me. So by evaluating, okay, this is a broken system. My bookkeeping system is broken. And how can I remove myself or at least decrease my involvement in this system so that I can receive or achieve a better desirable outcome?
Okay, I like that. You're creating a more efficient tax system so that you can hopefully prevent yourself from having to owe on your taxes. I think that's one of the things that I've tried to do a little bit better job is tracking my business expenses throughout the year so that I'm not trying to discover new things at the last minute. And I think it's really helped me keep things on track. Because one of the things that I did in 2025 that I think was immensely helpful. And so looking forward to implementing that again this year. It takes a little bit of effort on the front end. Whenever you're making a change, it usually does. Whether you're going to spend a little bit more time, do a little bit more effort, spend a little bit more time educating yourself, or just investing as in like paying somebody else to do it in your case. But I think it'll end up being money or time or effort well spent, being able to simplify things and like decrease stress on the back end. So I am excited for you. I'm happy for you for making that investment into the bookkeeping. I know that was a big pain point for you. So being able to eliminate that hopefully will give you more ease this year.
Yeah, thank you. And, I know not all people have businesses, right? Some people have their 9 to 5 and they don't have additional side gigs or entrepreneurial pursuits. But this same thought about bookkeeping also can apply to managing your budget. If you're someone who had the financial pressure this year of overdrawing accounts, or you've had the financial pressure of paying a bill late or paying extra interest because you didn't put that credit card on automatic complete payment. Those are still potential pressure points that people might experience in their day to day, even if they don't have a business. So, therefore, I just want to challenge you to think about, okay, what is the systems, what is the bill pay system that you have currently in process? What is the saving system that you currently have in process? What is your investing system that you currently have in process? And evaluate that to see if there are any areas of friction, any areas in which you can optimize it and simplify your systems, whether that's putting something on automatic or it is using an app that helps you to quickly appraise where your money is going and how much money you have in all of your accounts at a moment's glance. And it's really just trying to make the information accessible. I think that also helps us to have the awareness that we can potentially take action on and to think about how can I update what is already working and eliminate some of the friction to this process.
Yeah, so maybe our to-do list is to really examine, okay, what are the goals that maybe we didn't hit in 2025? Or what are the goals that we hit that took a lot of effort? And what are different ways or systems that we could put into place to make that a little bit easier for us this year? So if you didn't hit your investing goals, maybe it's like, okay, well, what could I do to maybe automate things that can ensure I hit it this year? If you were able to hit your investing goals, but it required you to give a large chunk or contribute a large chunk at the end of the year, maybe you do more throughout the year. If one of your pain points was not having enough time to do some of the things you could enjoy, it's like, all right, what change could I make this year? What system could I implement? Maybe it's I'm not going to take any extra shifts on the weekends. Maybe it's that I'm going to intentionally stop working by 6 or 7 p.m. each night. And so I was thinking about like, okay, how could I make this a little bit easier on myself so that I can ensure that I'm going to be even more successful this year? And I know for me personally, I'm going to do probably a little bit more reflection and say like, okay, maybe I hit this goal, but it was a little bit more challenging for me. And what could I implement? I know for me, I like to read. I usually start my day reading, but I used to read at night and it helped me get better sleep. But lately, there's been so many things on my plate that I haven't had the time to read at night. And it's like, okay, what could I do? Maybe I could say, I'm going to stop watching TV at X hour. I know at the beginning of last year, I had purchased like an app on my phone. So it would like block social media past a certain point. And that was immensely helpful because then I like stopped using that app and I went back to my old habits. It's like, okay, I cannot be trusted to do this on my own. So I'm going to need maybe to invest in that ad blocker again or social media blocker again. And so again, it's like me doing a personal inventory of what are my goals, what are my pain points, like you said, and thinking about what are some different systems that I can implement this year.
Leisha, I love that. And I think it's a great segue to the next step that I have is like changing our behavior. So you're highlighting like a behavior that you appreciated, which was reading right before bed, and it helped you get better sleep. And maybe you have more vivid dreams, girl. I don't know. You just kind of went right into your book. Now you see that you're reading in the morning because you're doing something else in the evening. So, right, that's a behavior that you want to change and get back to. And so, for me, this comes to mind and thinking about our finances is I am a pressure player, meaning that I kind of wait until the last minute, the deadline to do something. And how can I change that behavior? I'm one of those people who get 5 emails saying, "Hey, Dr. Halford, when you gonna do this thing? When this deadline is approaching, this deadline is approaching." And then I always get it done before the deadline, but it's like sometimes the day before, if not hours before the deadline. And that increases unnecessary stress because I had a month to do this task. And why am I waiting to the last minute? And one of the reasons why I think that I'm waiting to the last minute is because I waited to the last minute on the task that needed to be done, now. And so I'm not creating that margin. And so for me, it's thinking about trying to really appraise how long this task will take. Because there are some tasks that I wait until the last minute to complete that actually only take 5 to 10 minutes. And as that thought is being generated, that loop is being opened in my brain when I see that task, can I allot for a little bit more time so that I could just complete the task quickly? And as I'm thinking about this in the finance space, I'm thinking about, okay, our taxes, right? The bookkeeping, getting the W-2s, making sure we have W-9s, making sure we have all of the things organized. As you mentioned, maybe it's like investing more periodically throughout the year. Well, that could also be instead of me waiting to the end of the year, and I know you do yours in the beginning of the year. I need to change that behavior. Wait until the end of the year to do my backdoor Roth IRA and doing it earlier on in the year. So, really just evaluate your behaviors where there are fixed deadlines, like the end of the year, maybe tax season, some of those other financial deadlines, and evaluating your behaviors around those so that you can change those behaviors to alleviate this unnecessary stress.
Yeah, just trying to think about, okay, what's a way that I could do that? Because I think for me, I don't necessarily wait to the last minute on a lot of tasks, but I do have the habit of accepting more tasks than I probably should. And so then I'm overwhelmed, not because I procrastinated, but I'm overwhelmed because I took on too much. And so I think for me, this is really about being strategic and like what I accept and volunteer for. And not everything that interests me needs to be done by me. And I don't have to accept every invitation that comes my way. It's nice to be thought of, but just because I'm thought of doesn't mean I have to commit.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things I'm learning. It's like, oh my gosh, and I'm learning when someone asks me to do something, instead of saying yes, I usually started off by saying, thank you for thinking of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to acknowledge that it felt great to be thought about for this opportunity. But
Mm-hmm.
like maybe not at this time for me, or I'm going to have to pass this one time, or please circle back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Please keep me in mind for future opportunities. I would really love to work on a project with you in the future. So for me, I think is creating a little bit more space for myself. And just because I have free time does not mean that I need to take on tasks to build that up. Sometimes it's nice just to be able to say, you know what, I have a free hour, I have a free 30 minutes. And now it gives me a little bit more time or just creates more cushion in
Mm-hmm.
my life. I think I had mentioned this before that as a really productive person, I have in the past tried to create really efficient schedules, like every hour is accounted for. And I've realized that just like creates more stress for me because if one meeting runs over, one thing runs over, now all of a sudden I'm stressed. And it's like realizing that there is actually value in quote unquote inefficiency and building these chunks of time or these spaces where my time is not spoken for actually gives me more space and opportunity to think and to ponder. And it's these opportunities in which I'm thinking and I'm pondering that oftentimes I'm thinking of solutions to problems, that oftentimes it gives me the space to brainstorm and I'm thinking about new ideas and things I want to work on. And so it's like that part, leaving myself that space is actually going to make me better and more productive in the long run. And so just embracing the inefficiency and like scheduling space between meetings and scheduling a complete day off, those sorts of things. So that's something I think that I'm going to try to do even more of this year.
Yeah. Alicia, I love that embracing inefficiency and creating space. And that leads us to the last point for this kind of alleviating pressure is to kind of ground ourselves to do more visualization. I could say that because I'm very much like you, I have so many tasks that I need to complete. I don't necessarily book out every hour, but I have a prioritization of like, okay, this task needs to get done first. And then after that task, I'm going to do this task. And so I have this running list of things that I need to do that I forget to build in space for me to breathe and for me to visualize. And there has been numerous studies that have talked about the power of visualization, but it requires time, it requires some stillness, and it requires some silence in order to visualize who you want to be and what you want to be. And I think maybe because my 2025 has been so packed that I haven't had that space to actually visualize my autonomy, visualize the better version of 2026 Brittany for me to actually create these goals. And so one of the things that I'm doing to alleviate that pressure point is to actually visualize the new self where I have time to, as you mentioned, exercise and not be, sometimes when I go for a run, it's like, okay, Brittany, you got 20 minutes to go for a run, girl. We gonna push it like, go, Brittany, go. It's like, no, I'm gonna take a leisure run and I'm gonna run for as long as my body tells me to run. And I have no objective except to get out there and go. I have nothing else to do afterwards and to just really build in enough space and freedom. And so, what does it look like for us to do the things differently? Like, what if you had 3 months of financial autonomy saved where you just said, okay, job, I don't care if you're paying me for these 3 months. This is what I'm going to do. What about 6 months? And then thinking about like how that feels and really embodying, embracing that. Because for me, at least, I think it would make some of these changes and these actions that I'm taking in order to achieve that more of a prioritization of all the other things that might be clouding my time, my emotional space, and taking up my money at this time.
Yeah, when you said visualize autonomy, I started thinking about like, okay, what again does success mean to me? What would I deem to be a happy life, a happy balance, happy medium for me between the amount that I work, as a physician and the amount that I work on my business and the amount that I spend with my family and the amount that I allot to my time and my physical fitness? And what does that optimal balance look like for me? And what are the things that I could change about my life in order to get closer to that? And just like always keeping in mind that end goal, purposefully putting boundaries in place to protect myself against things that would take away from me. There are times where I think, oh man, I should work a little bit more to make more money, as a physician. And then there are other times where I'm like, no, 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 no. The schedule and the balance that I have feels good for me at this moment. And just like embracing that and realizing that what I deem to be successful for me might be different from what it looks like for other people. And just like sitting in that difference and being okay with it. I think so much in medicine is about what you can do to get to that next ladder in your career. We're constantly on this wheel or this ladder of the meritocracy. And it's like, okay, I got to do this and get to this level. I got to do this and get to that level. And now I'm at the stage where I really don't need to impress other people and I don't need to prove myself to other people.
My snap's not coming through the mic.
So it's about like what feels good to me. And like, I don't need to go out of my way to prove myself to you or other people. And so I just kind of like thinking about that and like, what would I deem to be success for me? And what does success look like for me in 2026? And it's not
Mhm.
always about building, building, building. Sometimes I'm okay to enjoy the fruits of my labor and just be like, okay, maintaining in certain areas of my life.
Yeah, Leisha, I really appreciate that you said sometimes it's about maintenance. And I think that that is perfectly fine just to feel comfortable and to celebrate where we are. We have talked about on past episodes. At one point, you're a resident, like, oh, I wish I had the attending salary. And now you're the attending with the attending salary. Like, that is something to celebrate that we are living our own dreams, let alone like our ancestors and our parents' dreams, right? So, how can we celebrate that moment and just really embrace where we are and live in the present? And for me, that is also bringing to mind of, okay, Brittany, you have enough, right? What you have is not optimized. So are you being a good steward of all the things that you have, So the next step that I'm thinking about, instead of like not pursuing more, how can I alleviate the pressures as we talked about and like add space to visualize what I want to be and who I want to be? And how can I optimize what I already own? And so the first step, I think, is an assessment, an evaluation of things that you have and how is it working for you. So I'm thinking, what are some of the physical items that I own? And so those are clothes, my furniture, any jewelry, or things that I currently own, the spaces that I currently own, this home that we currently own. And then thinking about what items do I use regularly versus those that are just taking up space. And it's very interesting. Yesterday, my husband, he opened the closet and he saw this little rectangular device and he was like, oh, this is a charging unit. I thought that it was extra storage. I was like, oh, you mean like an external hard drive? And he was like, yeah. I was like, oh, I have one of those. It has all of my old computer files on it, but I haven't looked at it in over 2 years. So it's probably something that I don't actually need to have on there if I'm not using it frequently. And how can I delete some of that stuff to now allow my husband to use it so we don't have to spend the $100+ in order to buy another one, right? And so how can we just optimize what we currently have and for the things that we're not currently using? And then I saw this on Instagram once about how everything that you own is a job. And I was like, man, I never thought about that. The pieces of clothing that I own, that means I have to wash them, I have to fold them, I got to put them away. The furniture that I own, I have to kind of keep clean. All these toys that I buy for my kids that are on the floor, and I am constantly yelling at them to put away their toys before I throw it away, right? It's draining my time and my energy. All the things in the space that I don't use, that I have excess of, that are just cluttering my brain because I'm not actually putting them away. And so it's like, oh, I need to do this. It just is another thing, another reminder of something that I haven't done. And so it's like, how can we assess what we currently own and optimize what we own in order to create time margin, emotional margin, and also some financial space?
Ooh, I like that concept of everything that you own is a job. There's work involved. And I think it would probably prevent me from keeping so much excess and probably would motivate me to get rid of what I don't actually need and that's not adding value and no longer serving me. It's like, am I hoarding this thing? Do I really need this? Is this adding value? Do I need to purchase more clothes? Is this going to decrease space in my closet and make it harder for me to keep clean? Are these clothes going to end up on the floor? There's more things for me to wash and more things for me to organize and put away. And just really thinking about that. Like, I don't currently live in a home. And it's one of the things that I'm thinking about maybe doing in 2026 is like, okay, but if I get a home that's too large, I'm going to have to furnish it and keep it clean and pay more for all of these other things. I know I'm going to do a little bit of reflection on what you said, but I think these ideas of what we talked about today about how to maybe make things more efficient and optimize things a little bit more, creating more cushion and margin in our lives, I think are some great things for us. I know you got some more things for us that we're going to talk about next week, but so far this has been great. I think you gave me some things to ponder.
Yay. Yay. Okay. I'm loving that we're continuing on with kind of this reflection space. We talk a lot of like logistics and technical things about finances, but I really believe that it is how we're thinking, how we're feeling that really limits us from achieving the financial greatness that we desire. So thank you for just allowing me to explore this stuff with you and actually like kind of prompting this with your teachings or your learnings from 2025.
Well, I will say you're welcome. All right, all right. So, what is something fun that you are doing with money this new year?
Oh, okay, Alicia. So this is something that I've been thinking about as far as a goal, and I haven't done it yet. But in 2025, we had to spend a lot of money. I mentioned before that it was raining in our bathroom, so we had to replace the roof. And so just kind of depleted some of the discretionary funds that we had. But I'm like, you know what? I got credit card points. It's not necessarily money that I'm spending, but it's points that I'm spending. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking about is okay, by February, I want to make sure that the trip is booked for my husband and I to go in May and really celebrate our anniversary and use credit card points because why should we have to sacrifice just because we had this emergency and a few emergencies that we have kind of depleted some of our emergency fund that we got to restack up. So there's like a little less discretionary income, but we still have some other types of currencies that we can use. And so, yeah, we're spending points to get that trip booked because we need it.
Ooh, where are you guys going to go?
So we had talked about Greece last year. That's still on the docket. That's still on the docket. So, but if you have any other options, and then please let me know. We want to make sure that we're not causing too much of a time delay. You know how sometimes you go places and it's like 13 hours ahead or behind or something. And so you're so fatigued and it takes you a couple of days to adjust. So we want to try to keep on par with the similar time zone in order for us to really optimize the time that we have there.
Okay, that might be challenging, but maybe to Europe. They're ahead, it's a different time zone, obviously, but maybe 7 or 8 hours, depending on what time of the year you're going.
Mhm.
But all right, so if you all are listening to this and you've got some ideas on places that you think Brittany and her husband should go to celebrate their anniversary in May, or you see or hear of any good points deals, whether it's on flights or hotels or whatever, why don't you email us, wealthmindedmd@gmail.com, and let Brittany know where you think she and her husband should go. Let's collect some ideas from our audience and see what they say.
Yeah. What about you? How are you spending your money for fun?
Well, I just actually used one of the credits that I had on my credit card to purchase like a sound bar for my TV and a new speaker.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully I can figure out to connect it in my place and even louder, more pronounced like sound to my television in the living room. So that is something fun that I'm doing with money. So I can watch movies with a little bit more bass and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you're gonna have the theater experience
Yes.
right in Alicia's living room.
Yes, 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 exactly, exactly. So that's something fun that I'm doing with money.
Awesome. Well, we hope that these reflections, these questions, this process has been helpful for you to conceptualize what your financial goals are and how you can create more financial margin for yourself. And we also want to just kind of reiterate that you don't have to do all this work alone, right? You can also have someone who's working for you, a professional to help you to do some of this. And we really appreciate our sponsor, Ben Martinick, and his team at Bonafide Finance, in that they focus on your goals and help you to determine those goals and keep you consistent with your goals. So if you have the goal of getting your finances in order, but have been overwhelmed, then be like Brittany and hire somebody to help you to do this task and stay committed. And until next time, people, we want to thank you for listening and stay wealth minded.
Hello, everybody. It's me, Brooke. I'm recording a little disclaimer for my mommy, Dr. Brittany Halford, and her friend, Dr. Lisa Taylor. Just so you know, they're not financial advisors, tax professionals, lawyers, or financial planners. Everything you hear is for education and entertainment. It's not strict financial advice, you know. So use your best judgment, chat with a tax professional, and all those other people that you need to talk to. Thanks for tuning in today. Keep cruising on your journey to wealth and wellness. Bye-bye.